Every day I'm rising to my inner vision.
Hi everyone, my name's Alex. I'm the founder of Palmaïa and welcome to The Unknown Tribe. The Unknown Tribe is our channel at Palmaïa where we interview and speak and discuss to all the amazing people that come through Palmaïa and all the people who come here and contribute to the principles and purpose of the brand. Today we have no other than Layla Rehana, artist, musician, singer, channeler, a lot of things. And then we have also Sebastian Mullaert, an amazing music artist who has been playing, was the father of organic house music for many years back, and we can't wait to hear your story. So the purpose of the podcast is actually to talk about the launch of our first Palmaïa album, which Layla and Sebastian have co-created. And it's called AïA Vol.1 because we hope there are going to be many more. And we hope that people see it and think, oh, we like this, we need more. And they will give us feedback and we will make more. So the idea became a podcast, behind an album came because, well, I've always loved music myself. I've always since I was young, I'd get music from DJs, friends. I'd be making playlists in the era of tapes. We'd be recording tapes in our room in the 80s and switching mixtapes and things, it was always fun. And so as many of you have been here already know, we have a big emphasis on music at the resort. Every area and space is curated and there's different, all the deep fusion, deep house, chill out music, ambient. Every space is curated in a way that mixes and matches the ambience with how you should be feeling now. So in my head, I remember once thinking, well, would it be cool to do an album one day? That would be really nice. And kind of that's when we opened and just after COVID and we had to close down again. Then we reopened again. And with all this music journey, I was thinking, wow, how amazing would it be to do an album? And then I met Layla and she, apart from doing many other things, does something called light language. And light language is when you get into a meditative state and through other dimensions, I guess, you see certain, in an unconscious state, you see figures and signs and they are sung through voice, and what usually comes out of something that sounds, I call it Sanskrit in a way. To me, it sounds like Sanskrit, but no one really knows what it is, I guess. And I heard that, and a lot of people refer to it as healing, so they listen to it, it relaxes them. I think you sell packages online, right, where people can buy them for getting babies to sleep, or sleeping yourself, or relaxing and de-stressing. And I was thinking, wow, would it be beautiful to have that interlaid in a modern way that makes it sound more fun and more interesting, And then a few years later, a friend of ours said to me, called me and goes, hey, I've got this really good friend. He's staying with me. The room got taken. I've got nowhere to put him now. Will you please house him? He's a beautiful person. You want to meet him? I was like, of course. If you're recommending him, bring him immediately. So Sebastian came along and we met 3 years ago, was it? Or 2? I can't remember. 3 years ago we met. And we spoke, and you were performing here a few times actually during that time as well, which was very beautiful. And then at the end of the stay, I think you said to me, wow, I love the energy and feeling so much that you said to me, why don't we create an album? And I was like, bing, everything happens for a reason. So on that note, why don't we talk about you guys then? So we start with you, Sebastian. I mean, your journey is extremely interesting. You're very respected in the music industry. I mean, you've done a lot of things. So I think we need probably 6 podcasts to talk about everything you've done. So can you compress it into 5 or 10 minutes and tell us your story, where you came from and how you got into music and where your journey's taken to you now and how it came to the album as well, maybe?
Yeah. So my name is Sebastian Mullaert, and I, since my very early years, been making music, playing instruments, starting to experiment playing in pop band, rock bands. I played violin and pianos. I played symphony orchestras, string quartets. So my whole youth was really surrounded or embedded in music. When I came to my later teens, the whole electronic rave scene was slowly coming to Europe in the early 90s. And I had a really strong, beautiful reminder about what dance is and what dance means to people in these settings, settings where the purpose was not to have an idol on stage, but the purpose was to gather together as a tribe and dance.
Beautiful.
And my father was a really great enthusiast for electronic music. and had a lot of synthesizers and drum machines at home. So it was kind of always, I was not really embracing them when I was young because I felt, the violin and the piano is the real stuff. My father is into this.
It's just weird, right?
Like Moogs and Rolands and things like that. But then I kind of, okay, let's open that door. And I started to combine. And actually my first performance at a rave party was with a violin. Wow. So I have had, all these effect boxes, and I played kind of improvised ambient music.
You must have been one of the first people who probably did that then, because since 10 years ago, they've always been combining now violin and saxo with dance music and things.
Yeah, it was kind of in an early way. And that was probably like 96.
Yeah, imagine. Wow.
And then I had this, sometimes in life you have this crossroads, like, okay, I got into architects at the university. Can I do this and still try to do this adventure with electronic music? Because that was still very new to me. Like, how do you produce? How do you record? I didn't know anything of that. I always played music, but I was not a recording artist, in my teenager. I was like, okay, what shall I do? So I said to myself, okay, I give it 2 years. I wait with the university, and I try to see what happens in these 2 years, and I try to learn and focus on that. And if I can sustain myself somehow after 2 years, and maybe it's a sign I can continue. So I actually, to survive financially, I started to work as a teacher.
Amazing.
So I was a teacher and I had no education. But at that time in Sweden, there was such a lack of teachers for high school and elementary school. So I just went to school and said, just see you have a spot vacant. I can do some math and chemistry and physics. And I was like,
amazing.
So they said, okay. Afterwards, they told me that they didn't have an option. There was no one else asking.
Oh my.
But I stayed there for 2 years, actually. And it was also a very important time for me. I was 19 years old when I applied, and my students were like 16. Which also is a side note to what I'm doing today. Is not only music, but I teach a lot and I coach and I hold retreats and classes. And that's also always been part of a very natural expression for me. But these 2 years became my whole adult life. And I still only have made music. So it kind of worked out somehow. And I had a long journey, now it's almost 30 years in making electronic music. And to kind of wrap it up, because as you said, I can talk about all kind of different things I've done. But it's like this, I have a few really strong moments of remembering throughout my life, not remembering with my mind, but remembering in the experience of it, what creativity is. As a 3-year-old, just painting for fun. As there are different stops, and going to the rave party and dancing was one of these moments. Remembering it's this simple. This is it. And then I started to learn to produce, and it was a journey of complicated, like you have to understand things, and it also has a purpose. But I kind of lost that very simple improvisational creative approach, and it's very easily happened to people in computers because it's so mind driven. It's written by the mind. It's very linear. It has a start, it has an end, and you can fix it, and you can analyze it, and you can go into endlessness of thinking about it, and very easily you forget the embodiment of it, or the actual sensation of it. And there I had different moments, and it's probably been the really important journey for me the last 20 years, is to like, wow, this is not it. I'm missing the point now when I'm doing like this, and really trying to see how can I make music and be in a very creative flow and allowing something to happen rather than to try to carve something out or create something. So that have been my kind of guiding star, the red line throughout my process. And that is also kind of how I notice like what I appreciate in life and what attracts me is their life. When I meet life in a person or in the forest or in a hotel or in a movie or in a book or whatever it is, some kind of manifestation, if I feel that there is this is authentic, here is an expression of life, I come to life.
Yeah.
It's the most natural thing in our universe is that consciousness, life, is just reflecting and allowing a remembering in whatever it means to come alive.
Yeah.
It's very fundamental and very basic, and that's what I felt when I came here.
Yeah.
I felt that you could say I felt two things. I felt that, and I felt that it also held even more potential to be that.
Yes. Wow.
And then I had that, and we talked about that a lot, and I talked to Layla about it, and a lot of other people I meet here. When you feel life, when you feel this active remembering of it, you want to contribute,
right?
And you want to contribute, because
Mm-hmm.
that is not something you watch. It's not something that is outside of you.
Yeah,
you become one with it.
yes.
It's, can say it a cliche, but the oneness,
Yeah, oneness for
the
sure,
oneness
yeah.
is not something we look at or we talk about. Oneness is that it's happening all the time.
Yep.
And when you feel it, it's very common that you feel that I want to give. It naturally creates this gratitude and want to give back. And that's what I felt here.
Yeah.
And that's why I told you, can I contribute? Like the
Yeah,
only way I can do
conscious
that.
expansion, right? It
Yeah.
feels beautiful, right? I have a question actually. When you were studying, because you said you were teaching as well, right? So if you're studying and you're teaching, and you want to pursue your passion, which is the music, electronic music, and that time, as you remember, you couldn't go online and find information like now. You had to go maybe buy a book. How did you do it? What did you have? Did you have a guide? Did you have someone who was your master who taught you? Did you have friends who did it as well? How did you get access to all that information that nowadays seems a lot easier to access? And then you maybe found a few books in a store if you're lucky, right, about the subject.
Yeah, it was not so. It took longer, and I think that's also maybe a big difference from the 90s and the 20s.
Information was harder to find, right?
Yeah, and people today think that everything should go really quick, and there's always something good with everything. It's sometimes it's good not to need to do stupid, unnecessary work.
Yeah.
But very often we need to put in work, not because we need it to get to know something, but we need to do it to come alive.
Yeah.
It's more like, you go to a Zen temple and someone tells you brush these streets or these stairs for 1 year, and you're like, it's a complete nonsense. Why should I do it every day?
Right. Bonsais as well. Clean the floor for 2 years before you're even allowed to even touch a plant.
Yeah. And it's not about the floor.
Yeah.
It's about you.
Mind.
And that is also, in a way, a gratitude I have for the time when I learned this, because I had to put in the hours, and it also sometimes really embody you.
So you could say that also probably brought the artist in you out, right? The whole process that happened now.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But I learned through books, basically, and trying myself, and and
fermentation.
Yeah, and it took many years before it sounded anything good.
Wow, amazing! It's beautiful. And thank you very much.
Thank you.
And Layla, music. What's your journey then? Why did you tell us about why you love singing, voices? How you came to being, what you're doing now, and where you hope to take it?
Yeah, well, I always say that when I was younger, I was always a very sensitive soul, and I had the ability to see auras around people. And so I think lending itself to that, what I started noticing is I had these creative outlets where I wanted to express, where maybe it wasn't, allowed for me to say, hey, your aura's blue today, which I actually ended up doing when I was 10, and that got me into trouble. So what I learned is actually I can use this empathic ability that I have in a way to translate it through helping others. And so at the time when I was young, that looked like, studying theater and making people laugh and singing, which I think singing is something that's inherent to all of us. And I think, we were just talking about that this morning, how people, say, I'm a good singer, or I'm a bad singer, or they're a good singer, or they're a bad singer. And the truth of the matter is without any of that, without any of those stories, we all have a voice, and we all have, it is our birthright use that voice, and especially if we have it, right? So for me, growing up, my daydream of what I wanted to be when I was older, I would always see me on a stage with a mic. But in my mind, maybe that was too scary because that was too vulnerable for me. So instead, I decided, oh, that means I'm going to be a stand-up comic, or I'm going to be doing theater, or all of the things of which I ended up doing. But it was always the thing that was safest to the thing I really wanted to do, which was to sing. Because for me, that's a very vulnerable, authentic expression of oneself. And in my case, that was the most vulnerable, raw expression of myself. And not just myself as Layla and this human body, but it was almost like a bridge for me to connect to other vibrations and other worlds and other dimensions. And ultimately, long story short, what ended up happening was when I was about 20, I had this very big spiritual awakening where I started communicating with other energies, and I could feel other energies, and I started channeling these frequencies of light language that you mentioned. And for me, I call light language kind of a vibrational chiropractic adjustment. And the idea is when you're getting a physical chiropractic adjustment, you're being adjusted, right? It's physical. You can hear the crack or cracks, right? But when you listen to light language, this is a vibrational adjustment at kind of a cellular level. We're working with your water, and there's a new emerging science called cymatics, which is the science of sound. Where if you take on a vibrating plate and you put sand on it and you hear what you'll see is a perfect geometric vibration start to assemble on that vibrating sand plate. And so light language is very similar to that, where it's just different vibrations that are, coming from the trance state that I'm in, and has a very healing impact on the body, is what I find when I do these transmissions or activations for people. Is it's very calming, and it doesn't have any words to it, and there's not a language that you're supposed to understand, but it is just a simple way that spirit can come through all of us, And what I say is we all have connection to light language, right? And I see some of my clients, they can sign light language, when they're in a meditative state, they just start signing. They're like, what is that? I'm like, maybe that's a dialect of light language. Maybe that's how it comes through for you. Some people sing it, some people say it, some people can draw out the symbols or paint them. I've seen that happen, or dance them. There's all different ways that we are these channels, and it's not like you have to be born that specific way, right? Like seeing auras in order to be special or gifted or whatever it is. Because I truly think the only difference between me and someone else who's saying, I can't sing, is just a matter of perception. And I think in this system that we live in the world, that the way that it's constructed is to make it so we don't remember, right? That we don't remember we're inherently creative beings, and that we don't remember that we are divinity incarnate, and that's all we'll ever be doing. That's all we'll ever be doing, is just in this spiral of time, coming in and out and in and out and in and out forever, for infinity. And so we all have different expressions of that, because of course the divine is different expressions of the one thing in many different fractals.
Absolutely. And I think sound, as you say, is so important, which is why when I created Palmaïa as well, like part of the AïA Wellness program, which is the health and healing program we have here, the retreat experience you live, one of the houses we have is called the Rituals of Sound, no? Because I always thought that, you cannot have a healing experience without sound. We can give you the food, we can give you the physical movements, we can give you the whatever, but we cannot, sound is vibration, right? And this vibration is a cellular level and an energetic level. And what's more beautiful than dancing barefoot on the beach with your best friends, listening to amazing music? That alone is healing, right? So I think that experience that we provide here is definitely an important component of wellness for me. And the album is a beautiful representation of what vibrational sound healing can be as well, right?
Yeah. And it was always like very important to me, because part of the work that I do, well, I'm just, in my work, I'm, in the business of personal transformation. And so the one thing that I always look for is how can I give someone a system with which to understand how they operate? And so I do that in different ways. So I do that through a system called human design, which is the understanding of your energy type through the time and place that you were born. And I do that through Vedic astrology, which is similar, understanding kind of the planets, where they were placed and what that means for you in your life. And I also do something called subconscious reprogramming, which is, how to reprogram or heal from the perceptions and blocks that we were given, that we internalize, that aren't actually authentic to who we are. And so for me, what I understand about the subconscious is it's one of the ways that it's programmed is through repetition. And what's more repetitive than music? And I listen to what kids are listening to these days, even what I used to listen to growing up.
Boring,
And
isn't it?
I'm like, that is terrible. That is terrible information and programs that I'm getting in my brain. And then 95%
Just the
of
language
you,
alone.
which is the subconscious, starts to believe those things.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
Taylor Swift is
Yeah.
great and she's fun and she has her place in the world. But some of the lyrics that she even says, I'm like,
Let's not talk about half the lyrics. Yeah.
but my point is it was always,
Yeah.
instead of, just being drowned in the problem of, oh, this is what mainstream music is like. Instead, I was like, I would love to create something where people, it's fun, it's relatable, it's mainstream in terms of maybe the BPM and the beats, but they don't even know that what they're listening to, they are being like programmed with positive either frequencies or vibrations or sounds or lyrics.
Well, talking about the light language, I mean, Sebastian, the album, I think the last song, AïA, that is pure light language, right? You just recorded the sound and that was it. Well, the other songs that you did, they all had elements of vocals and lyrics as well as light language massaged in, as you like to call it now. Can you tell us a bit about that, how you did it and what each song represents a bit, or which songs are, or what were they, how they work?
Yeah, I think also it was interesting with the album how it came to life, because it was a little bit like it was an invitation, and then you were like, but we didn't really know exactly. Okay, what shall it be?
What could it
so
be?
and that's really how I operate, and I'd love to also put myself into things and not really know the outcome, and I think that is a key that I love to inspire other people to do as well, and not always wait until I know the full picture, because I don't think the universe works like that way. The forest doesn't grow that way. It's sometimes we just have to take a step. Sometimes the first step is just, you said it many times this week as well when we talked, to say yes.
Yeah.
To say yes is an action of an attitude, but it also helps you to actually take that first step. And sometimes it's good to just dive into things and trust that if you have an intention and you work on your values, which, I think a lot of people who come here, and I know all of us who are putting our energies into Palmaïa, we are working on that. And when you have that with you, that's almost like the roots, the foundation of the house. And then with trust, let's see what trees are going to grow.
I kind of call it almost like the album came about through organic creativity, right?
Yeah, and creativity is only organic.
Because you went away, you did something, came back, and then... So why don't we talk about it? Let's talk about how you actually made the album, though. So how did it happen? Let's talk about that one.
Yeah, so and that's a process that I have done in different ways, never with a vocalist. So this is actually the first time I did an album in this way with a vocalist, which was also, I love to try my workflow in different ways. I was really happy about trying this. So how I do it is I invite the person to come to our place in Sweden, and Layla came and stayed for 5 days, I think it was. We have a very small little guest house next to a national park in Sweden. And for me, one of the most important starting points are nature.
Yeah.
Nature is the biggest reminder, the most simple reminder of creativity, which is also a big part of Palmaïa, like an enormous part.
The jungle embraces you.
So we are two very different places, two different places on the earth, but with very fundamental similarities. And then I love to just go out there with the person I'm going to work with and actually in a way just cool down, scale off, to just... And that's also something I love to invite people to, that don't complicate. Often it's not about trying to do something. It's really just put yourself in a place where you stop trying and you feel safe. So I sometimes it works, sometimes not, but I try to invite to something safe.
Amazing.
And then I at a certain point, I'm like, okay, let's record. So in this way, how the album came to life was just 5 recordings or 6 or something like that. And I just hit record and I tell Layla, say something.
I'd like to just interject
Sing.
quickly and tell everyone that how amazing it is what you've done, because really, I mean, most people when they record, they're doing different layers, adding them, blah, blah, blah. But here you recorded the vocals first and then Layla left. I think you took the vocals and suddenly you played live over them and the songs just happened magically, which sounds very simple, but it sounds impossible as well at the same time. So how did you do that? I gotta know. There's got to be
a lot of
it's super
time.
interesting. I mean,
No, it's a little bit like
Yeah.
it's not the most efficient way to make music or to create things. And again, it's I in a way it goes really quick because it's a very spontaneous process. So when I actually do the last touches, it's very quick. I just improvise and I do a take.
Yeah.
But it's more like when I'm ready for that, I want to feel it.
Yeah.
And that I don't want to create any music that I'm not physically and or frequently part of.
Yeah.
And that's a process. And so it's almost like it's like reading a book or even a series of books. And so I just work with the sounds. Like in this case, I work with Layla's. I went into like one recording, I started to layer it, I started to play with it, I start to add different layers of it. I loop it in different ways. I record it into tape recorders. I add violins. I play piano. I loop again. And while doing that, there is 2 things happens. One thing is there is a whole sound library coming to life because I record everything. So it's almost like there is a portfolio of, like if I was a painter, you can see all this, different steps of all the paintings
like
and layers.
Developed as well,
and they're all there.
Yeah.
So I can use them later on. So it's like a whole box of ingredients. But even more important is that when doing that, I just come closer and closer to the sounds. And there is a point where, and it happens every time. So like in the past, I had this fear like, wow, this was such an amazing experience. I wonder if I can do it again. It's very human.
You got to push yourself to the limits, right?
It's like, oh, and now I'm so 100% full of trust that every time I start this process, it happens. When I relax, I don't try to do anything. I'm just with the sounds. I'm playful. I'm curious. I don't care about the outcome. I care about being with them. And suddenly, it's almost like
it's your divine expression through music, basically.
Yeah, and sometimes like this, we worked almost, of course I did other things in between, but it was stretched out over probably a year working with the sound. So, I create a relationship with that person. Like I was listening to a lot of Layla, and also that relationship for me is in everything. When I come home and I cook dinner, it doesn't stop. When I go out on tour, it doesn't stop. I read a book. It's like also like if you read a book and you're really into it, everything you see, you kind of reflect or interpret through that book.
That filter.
Your creative mind is open, so everything is attracting everything you need to create that one project, right?
Yeah, and
through different aspects of your life in different areas, which is kind of like happened to me with this as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Go to one, this thing here, that,
Yeah, but what I feel it's an embodiment beyond the mind. So it's not about thinking about it, but suddenly I feel it. And that's when I record the takes. And when I record the takes, I just have all the sounds on different channels on the desk. And that's why it's also my music is not typically composed and have big breaks. And it's very meditative and it's very, it has quite simple compositions, but I don't mind that. I really like that. Also again, for multiple reasons, but I love it because I don't get lost in the mind. And I have a lot of students that I coach that are always like, but you can do that, but you can still, do this automation and this. And I'm like, you do it your way. But it's that the mind is so slippery. So if you take that step, it's so, I can fix a little bit more. But maybe I fix a little bit. It's so hard to see it.
Yes, it's true. And Layla, and how did you feel when you went there? Because you went to Sebastian's place, obviously, right? And you didn't know, there were no lyrics at the time. You just arrived there,
No.
and how did you sang it for a few days, and all the lyrics suddenly magically appeared, or what happened?
Well, that was a really big like maturation phase in my development as an artist, because I went in there and really what I felt the most was my inner child that was so afraid to sing, but all I wanted to do was sing. So it was this dual nature inside of me that I felt like walking there, walking into the studio, seeing it, going, this is all for me? Like almost a sense of like unworthiness. And I remember that first day after we walked around the beautiful forest, the national forest that
Amazing.
you live right in front of is beautiful. But I remember feeling like I can't do this. Like, I'm not allowed to do this. This is no way this is happening. Like, it was a real pinch me moment, but pinch me and put me back where I belong, because I don't belong here. And what I had to ultimately learn, and in that process, you're like, I can leave. Like, I can be here. I can leave. Whatever you need in order to feel safe. And just having that from you, that kind of like creating that container of that safety of not just myself, but the true nature of that creativity to come out was so meaningful. And I learned so much about this. The important part is not just going on and doing the mechanical singing. Actually, the most important part is feeling. Like you say, it's the feeling and dropping into it. It's not, I'm going to go into the studio and I'm going to do this, that, and the other. It's, I'm going to go into the studio and I'm going to see if anything comes out. And I remember there was probably like a take where you're like, I'm recording and nothing came out for like 4 minutes. But when it did, it was magic. It was magic. And then you started layering all of these other things and other, other scenes and other takes from other things. And I was singing over it and I was like completely vibing out and enjoying myself. And then that really grew over by the 5th day, I was like, I don't want to go back. Like, it's just such a real pleasure and privilege for me to get that time with you. And it was not just time for the album for Palmaïa, but it was time with you as a growing artist, and actually getting that one-on-one mentorship. That was like, it was beyond anything. And actually, what I tell people now when people ask me about my time there, I always say to people, Sebastian taught me that creativity and spirituality is the same thing.
Yeah, she does.
Because in my mind, I was always told, like, you're either a spiritual person or you're a creative person. And those things aren't the same thing, but they actually are. It's creativity and spirit, they're both coming in at the same time, and if we are spirit in a body, which is what we are, then we can never not be spiritual. And so we can never not be creative.
And do you remember what the first song you started singing was? Do you remember how it came about? Because obviously what's out the album now is probably completely different order to what came out, right?
It's funny thing is that the first one we recorded, and then the first one that I worked on, because I took them one at a time, and then when I was ready with the takes, I sent them over to you. And then it took a month or something, and then I sent the next package of different versions.
Every song had like 6 different versions.
Yeah. And the first one was actually, I think it was Home.
Home. Yeah.
And that's, in the end of it's the second last song, because the light language is the last one. But it's kind of also, with this album, what I feel that I wanted to contribute with, of course, we are 2 persons, and also you as a third person. We all have our very specific energy and our way of letting things happen. But my little contribution into it, my wish and a really strong belief that, first of all, creativity is, as Layla said, it's not even easy. It's what we are.
It is. Yeah. Divine expression.
It's there, and it's always there. It's same as presence. We are consciousness. We are presence. We are this awareness. Experience this whole thing that happens in our human form, and through that human form and through these dimensions, there is energy that creates life, that manifests everything in all dimensions, not only the physical. And we are the vessel for that to be created. Yeah. And that is the creative expression, creation.
Absolutely.
And it happens through everyone. Everyone are present. Everyone are allowing creativity, but you can choose, and that's here comes the reminder and the invitation we can give to people. We can start to allow it in a more genuine and free way, or we can hold back. We can push it away, or like we can tell ourselves that I'm not creative, which is one of the most common things people say in the Western world is I'm not creative, or I'm not a creative. And I think that's one of the things that is creating a world that is out of balance and full of conflicts, is that we are not encouraging people to allow creativity. And to allow your creativity is the most easy and fundamental way to feel meaning.
And it inspires you, right? You get inspired, you feel alive. It feels more,
It's just meaning,
more meaning,
before reason.
Mm.
And when you feel meaning,
you feel alive.
And when you're alive, you're content.
Absolutely.
You see people. You don't need to fight.
Yeah.
You don't need to defend yourself. You don't need to prove. You don't need to to hide. You don't need, the more you rest in meaning, the more you rest in your creative expression, the more you can also really heal what's difficult in you. You can say like, this aspect of me or this pattern, you can put light on it. It's like, because you don't need to hide from it or prove that you're the superhuman and I'm perfect. Suddenly and the more you're there, the more you invite yourself into being creative and allowing your creativity, the more trust you have also for your surrounding, and you invite other people to it. So how can we help each other to allow our creativity? And I feel the way I make music and compose and play live, I always try to do it in a way that is authentic. It's honest, and it's not complicating things. It's not trying it to look in a certain way, but can sometimes be sometimes a bit boring, sometimes a bit weird, but that's what we are. We are not one thing. We are not perfect. We are perfect, but we're not perfect in a thought perspective way. We're perfect when we're actually authentic. So I wish my music and my invitation when I invite other people to play with me or I play for an audience to be that. So this album is also that, in my perspective, and an important thing there is that we can have music and we listen to them. It's frequencies and they can heal. All that I agree with, but for me, even more important is that thing that it's more about actually taking part than to listen. Of course, we can listen and take part. To listen can be a very creative experience where we actually are actively really with the music, but sometimes that's quite challenging. It can sometimes be easier to stand up and start to move. We have to express our voice, like you said, Layla, and to move our body are two extremely simple and human ways of taking part and connect with others, connect with what we meet. And to be creative is to move your move, to sing your voice, not to, and I think this is for me really important, it's not to find your voice. It's not to try to seek for your specific move. It's not to try to, how is my language when I write a book? It is to continuously, forever, moment to moment, explore and be with that sound that comes out. And it's organic and dynamic, and it might be certain archetypes that makes you have a certain character to it when you do it a lot, but it's still, like on a longer perspective, it's still very changeable and dynamic.
I feel that creativity is definitely the creation in this dimension now, and it's really just an expression of divinity through us. Once you're unblocked and you're authentic and you're doing what you love, right? And when you do what you love and you create through creativity, that physical element or thing that you've made, whether it be music, hotels, or whatever, that then creates permeates energy and allows other people to heal and to connect and to then create their own creativity, you know. And if we're all being creative and we're creating through divine expression, then we're all contributing to the greatness of humanity, I think, no, to help us all become more conscious and aware of the world, as you said, not having to fight wars and not having to argue and hate each other. And, you know, it's just, I think we're very much beyond that nowadays. I think the world could definitely be a much better place now.
And when we need to argue or hate a little bit, because hate is also patterns that we humans carrying with us. And the beautiful thing is that when we dance together and we express, we can also hold a space where we actually can, in a safe way, express anger or hate. And there is only one place where things can heal. It's in the moment, in your consciousness right now.
Yeah.
And sometimes we actually need to be quite daring and powerful and go out and okay, let's bring in some hate here because I need to heal this hate in me.
It has a moment, right? Its place.
And I think with art, with creativity, with dance, with painting, we can also unlock or welcome these dimensions of ourselves in a safe way. Not try to always play cute or paint beautiful, but sometimes we need to smash the
chuck all the red on the board.
Exactly. And instead of doing that to another person or say it in an undertone to your kids or, you know, we should all
express it, heal it, and
remind each other, like, and I say that we should just inspire each other. Everyone should have a channel in their life, a space where they express creativity for no reason. Not to be an artist, not to create a hotel, but actually have something like I have it with photography. I take photos all the time, and when people ask me like, oh, your photos are so beautiful, can you come and, you know, take photos here and there? Like, no, I don't charge. I will never get paid for my photos. But if I feel for it, I bring my camera and I love to share the photos I took.
Yeah, me too.
But
exactly.
But it has no purpose. I don't need to become something there. And I think that it's so important to have that space.
Multiple creative outlets as well, because different energies, right? Different feelings.
That as well.
Yeah. So, and this is interesting. Which is your favorite song, Layla? Do you have a favorite song or?
From the album?
Yeah, the one you're most proud of. The one you think is could be most inspiring. Which one do you love the most and why?
God, I love them all because they're so unique in their own way. But I will say what's really interesting is even the song Soul. That's interesting because there's a lyric in there where it was like, heals us all. But the way that I say it, when I was saying it was heals us all. But it turned into heals the soul.
Oh,
so it's interesting. It's like, what did you hear? And maybe what you heard is what you needed to hear, right?
Or it changed in the creative process and it was meant to be something else.
Or it was meant to be both. It's whatever you pick up on. So I really like that. And then the other song that I love is Mind, because that was I call that a channeled poetic activation. And I actually channeled those lyrics. I think it was during COVID, actually. I had a lot of time to meditate and a lot of time to do my kriyas, which I did a lot of. And when I was in that state and in that process, I think on my 45th day of doing it straight twice a day, my kriyas morning and night, and also meditating, I got this thing where I started pacing around my room and I just started saying these words, and I started recording myself saying these words, and then I recorded myself saying it and I posted it like on Instagram. And I always said, these are super powerful. It would be amazing if it was like somewhere in music, you know, if I ultimately did something with this, is like if this was lyrics, you know, to a song. And it ended up turning into that. I just couldn't see it from all those years ago, right? So, but I always had a feeling it would turn into that. And I find the lyrics to Mind as kind of my active rebellion against the lyrics that kids are listening to of just, you know, get money, right? Or whatever.
Do you have any songs that are you most proud of, or your favorite songs, or?
Yeah, that's
the
question.
Easy reply. Don't give us the easy reply.
These, yeah, I can only say that I can never have favorites when it comes to my takes, and I think that's also a beautiful, um, not a example of
Yeah.
why embodiment is so connected to creativity. You know, when I do the process, I make all the sounds, and then I start to do the takes. It's that I have a very clear step
Yeah.
process when I do it, and I had 4 steps in my workflow, and 2 of the steps I don't have any judgment. Everything is welcome.
Yeah.
I just say yes. It's just a continuous yes. It's when I create the sounds and I will loop. I don't say at any time like, oh, this was not so good or this doesn't fit. Everything fits. Everything is welcome.
Yeah.
And I just record and I record because the choices I do later on. So I realized this process just happened by itself. But I realized afterwards when I'm looking at it and trying to share it with other people that I actually took out the moment of choosing to specific, like 2 parts of the process. And then I don't need to choose all the time. And that's a problem that I think many people do in their creative expression or when they live life, that they always should know, yes, good, bad. And I think it's much easier to choose. Like when I've been in this place for a week or 2, just saying, yes, wow, you're beautiful.
Yeah.
Wow, you're really ugly. Wow, you're really weird, but you're welcome. I love you as much.
Okay.
And then comes the moment where I need to choose, like which sounds of these 500 should I use?
Yeah.
Then I can choose without even judging. It's more, I listen to attraction. This. It's very spontaneous.
Yeah.
And then I start to do the takes, and then it's the same. I do like sometimes 100 takes of one, and I'm just continuing, and I'm if I get a thought like let's do a really funky, I add some weird jazz on top. If that thought come, I don't think is it appropriate? Does it fit here? Whatever comes, I play it.
Amazing.
And that helps me then to just say yes, and there's an expansion taking place because those limitations we put on ourselves, or will Alex like this? Is this appropriate to Layla? It's really like I give a fuck about you. I do whatever I want.
Let it flow.
But then at a later point, of course, we're going to choose which songs. And that's, in this case, we did it all 3, but it was really a lot of up to you because it's the album of Palmaïa, so you could choose. But here I didn't need to choose. But sometimes also when I've done all this, it doesn't mean that I can't choose.
Yeah.
And here is different aspects of our mind. I can be in a state of just creating. And then, for example, if I do an album, for a certain label and I sit down and sit with the label and with the A&R, it's very clear, these tracks works really well together here. I can choose. But in the act of letting them out, I don't choose. And so in a way, I just love all of them, but I can see that they function and are appropriate at certain times. And this angle I can have later on. So with all that said,
number 1,
there are some of the songs I have felt is I have felt that some people connect with extra well. And I would say Mother is a song that is very profound, and it's I feel that people really, in a way that I feel happens here, because the whole album, my wish was, I embodied the sounds and everything, but I was always here partly in my mind, because I've been here now, it's the 5th time, and I walked the beach, and I've been in 8 places. I meditated in all the areas. I've been doing the breath work. I've been dancing in it all. I really tried to embody the place to be able to actually channel something that was a combination of that and Layla and me somehow. And I feel that the song Mother is really somehow the essence of of the album and what Palmaïa is. It's welcoming people home.
Well, I'm super proud of what you've both done. I mean, it's so beautiful. I really love it. And also, it's almost a dream, because imagine, not only do we have an album that represents the soundscape of Palmaïa when you're here, but we've created something that we release to the world. And even if you can't be here or for whatever reason don't come here, if you listen to the album, you're receiving the healing frequencies and the purpose of our place here, which is to heal as well, right? So that collectively we get together and heal between ourselves and make the world a better place. So I think the album's beautiful for a lovely contribution to the world. I think I think that's a great thing we've done. And I really love it. So thank you both.
Thank you for making it possible.
And how amazing that now that you're here, because normally you're in Sweden, of course, and you were touring in Mexico. Now you're here for a few weeks, and again, organic creativity, spontaneously. We're going to do the launch of the Palmaïa album in 2 days' time on Saturday. So why don't we talk about that? How did that come about?
Well, I think it was always something that we, Sebastian and I had talked about, Sebastian and I are very similar in terms of we get really excited about potentials and we start riding off of the energy together. And it's like, oh my God, imagine this and that and that and that. And so, doing some kind of live performance or concert experience live was...
That's the first time we're going to do it. So.
Yeah. And when we got the opportunity to do that and actually make that happen, that was like, wow. And for me on a personal level, it does feel like this has been like within 6 years, this is the third attempt at me trying to release an album. And I finally did it, and actually done with a lot of purpose, because the times I tried previously, it felt forced, and I didn't feel like I was being taken advantage of a little bit. And this one just feels so meant to be.
Super excited to hear it live. It's going to be interesting because obviously it won't be exactly the same, right? It'll just flow as it has to flow, right, through nature and whatever happens.
Yeah, and so what we're planning on is kind of similar to the AïA Wellness concept here at Palmaïa, which are the 4 houses. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
So AïA Wellness is inspired by the Mayan Popol Vuh, which is the ancient sacred text of the Mayans, and in it is a section that refers to brothers going into the underworld, and there they learn different levels of spirituality through different houses. So we really love this analogy, and we thought, wow, with all I believe wellness, I reckon I can fit into 4 houses. So why don't we do our own 4 houses of healing? No? So the 4 houses that comprise AïA Wellness are the Architects of Life, which is all the health and healing programs. It's the Nourishing Biome, which is the food program. It's the Rituals of Sound, which is the music and frequency and vibration program. And the 4th house is the House of AïA, which is only you will know when you've got there. So we'll leave that open to everyone. But the Rituals of Sound is very important, as we said, to do with frequency and vibration. So I think this concert is a beautiful representation, an example of what the Rituals of Sound house can achieve in healing and experience and music and community and getting together, right?
Yeah, and so what we're doing is actually taking that example of that 4 houses that you've created with AïA Wellness, and we're making our own 4 doors that unlock you into the houses. So our concert experience on Saturday will be kind of in that flow or that format. We have these 4 chapters, these 4 frames, these 4 doors, these 4 keys that unlock you into the houses that are the essence of that. Yeah. So the Nourishing Biome, we're thinking of, well, what's the most nourishing song? And to that, for us, that's Mother. Yeah. And so that will be the first chapter of our evening together, and it'll kind of flow through.
And what's important to know is about Palmaïa, I would say that Palmaïa always meets you where you're at. You can come here, maybe one day you'll enjoy one of the houses, or you'll just come and do yoga all day long, and that will have been a beautiful experience for you. I remember walking on the streets one day in the jungle, and I was walking on, this guy stopped me. Are you Alex? I'm like, yeah. He said, oh, thank you so much. I had such an experience here. I feel so much better. I can go to New York and relax. I was thinking in my head, wow, this guy must have got through all 4 houses. And I said, wow, really? How was it? What did you do? No, I managed to leave my mobile phone in my room for 3 days. So imagine, for him, that was the healing. So not everyone goes into every house. Right? Every house, every time you come here, it's a different experience. And every house is reached in different moments in your life, depending on what you need. Maybe only one day, you need music. Maybe you just want to eat really well. Maybe you go plunk into the House of AïA and poof, something happens, right? So I think that's important. So how beautiful to know that this is going to be happening through music.
Yeah.
Exciting.
That's the idea.
On that note, I think I'd like to remind everyone that we will be having in our comments and chat section at the bottom. We'll be putting on Sebastian's information, your webpage, links to your music, everything that you do. Layla as well. We'll be having all your links and all your music there and everything. So you can find Layla or Sebastian in our underneath there, so you can see what's going on. And thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate this. Do you have any closing comments you'd like to tell the audience before we close?
I can just say that again. I said it many times, but I think it's a very valuable feeling to express gratitude,
Yeah.
and I think expressing gratitude is a blissful experience, and I feel so grateful, and I feel so much gratitude to be here and to be part of this, and I have a strong belief and a wish that it's small seeds that will continue in different forms, and I hope that a lot of other creative and spiritual adventurers are coming here
I'm sure.
and feeling Palmaïa in their way and adding, because what you have done here with Palmaïa, in a way it's I could never ever do something like this and it's so much of having this grand vision and having the trust to put this into play, and also have the trust to wait, because it will not come to life directly.
No.
And it comes to life through all the creative living creatures that comes
Absolutely.
here.
Palmaïa
So
is people, we say,
Yeah, and it's the people who come here, who live here, to have vacation here, to have their retreat here, that will listen to music, will explore the different houses, like you say. They will let this grow on. So I really hope that a lot of other artists also come here, and that Palmaïa find a way to nurture and to inspire people to come here.
Fun and nice projects for the future. And I feel the same way with you, but I can never do what you do, obviously, no? So it's actually a privilege to have you in the community and with us and doing things that we can do together and contribute to everyone, no? So thank you so much. And Layla, you have any closing comments? Would you like to say anything?
I think, having the honor of working on this album and having this as a part of Palmaïa and being a part of it is just incredible to me. So I want to also echo that gratitude that you just shared. And also, like you said, what is so unique about this album is that you can take a piece of Palmaïa home with you. A lot of guests, they say like, oh, we don't want to leave, or we can't wait to come back, or I miss Palmaïa. And with this album, hopefully it's something you can have with you wherever you are, just to tap into the essence of AïA.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you haven't heard it yet, download it or connect to it on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Music, and a few others. We'll write them down at the bottom anyway for you all. And we'll see some of you on Saturday, hopefully, at the live concert. Super excited to see that. And thank you so much, Layla and Sebastian.
Thank you.
You.